Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Well, finally, some semblance of common sense and truth coming from at least one person on the left, that's Bill Maher. Now, is it the full truth? Did he go far enough? Of course not, as usual. Close but no cigar. Knowing Bill Maher and leftist thinkers in general, he didn't go all the way there, but hey, I guess it's a step in the right direction. Bill Maher is now admitting something that I believe is fundamentally true and that the rest of the left is refusing to even acknowledge. And so even if the statement isn't perfect, well, at least it's a whole lot better than what we've seen so far. I want to show you guys this Bill Maher clip from his podcast, and then of course build on the ideas. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so here's Bill Maher speaking about the right wing's willingness to engage in dialogue after the Charlie Kirk assassination. Take a look.
Just the fight I have been having with the left, while I'm, of course, the irony, as a lot of people in my position, is still a liberal, just a traditional liberal, won't go along with their, like a lot of the stuff that's just crazy out there too far, which gets Trump elected, blah, blah, blah. As I always say to my woke friends, we voted for the same person. You're just why she lost.
Oh, I get it. Okay. Took me a second. Sorry, I had to absorb that.
Okay. You know, they're the people who don't want to talk. It's my main issue with them. And Charlie Kirk was a guy who, like, he was always talking. And I talked to him here. You know, the right-wingers say what you want about them, but they talk to you. They're not into this leftist think that the left really has much more of a, I don't talk to you, I don't want to deal with you, you're deplorable, I can't break bread with you.
Yeah.
That attitude, and like all the right-wingers, they don't have that attitude. No, again, I didn't vote for them. And Charlie Kirk and I certainly don't agree on much politically, but he sat here, he's a human being, he's not a monster.
And a husband and a father.
Yes. And I liked him. I liked them all. They're all nice people when you meet them in person. And they're not as crazy as they would. Nobody's as crazy as they make them out to be.
Exactly. You know, that's it. That's the point. At least that's one of the major points. We are the side of open dialogue, and that's exactly what Charlie Kirk represented. The right believes in conversation and debate and persuasion. Meanwhile, the left, they're the side of say something I don't like and I turn into a rabid frickin' zombie. You know, these people have political rabies. They lose all control. They foam at the mouth. They become unhinged and violent over simple differences of thought. And at first, it was kind of funny, you know? SJW freak out moments, public freak out this and public freak out that. It was one of the most massive viral trends, especially during the 2016 election. And for the most part, it was fun. The term libtard was coined. It was all shits and giggles, right? But underneath the comedy, underneath the hysteria, there's always been that underlying threat. You know, it might just be a meltdown today, but when you're engaging in this kind of emotional rhetoric, this talks of existential threat and genocide this and fascism that, well, what happens if people start to really believe that? Or what if these people, as is happening, start to lose political ground? Well, then it's a recipe for disaster. It goes from say something I don't like and I'll freak out to say something I don't like and I will kill you. And it seems as though we are headed in that direction. And the truth of the matter is we are not the same. It's not a left and right issue. This is a left-wing issue, and yet you'll see people on the left making all kinds of false equivalencies, desperately trying to distract from the obvious truth. They claim that actually, political violence exists on both sides. In fact, right-wing violence is more prevalent. But that is a total lie, and that premise is based off a one-year anomaly in 2022 where two supposed right-wing acts of terror happened. That data is from a report from the ADL, which of course is already biased, but even the ADL admitted that that year was an anomaly. It was unusual. And so the left takes that outlier data from 2022 and then claims that 80% of all political violence comes from the right. It's absolute nonsense. There were 2 shootings in that year that were quite deadly, and so it accounted for 80% of the, I guess you could say, politically motivated. It wasn't even really political. You just had 2 extreme racist nutcases that engaged in indiscriminate violent acts, and yet the left keeps pointing to that as if that tells the whole picture, despite the fact that we've seen an increased trend of left-wing indiscriminate acts of terror. But honestly, the mass shootings aren't even what we're talking about here. Even though it's obviously a problem and it's getting worse, we're not talking about indiscriminate violence targeting random innocent people. No, what we're dealing with here on the left is targeted assassinations based on speech. Charlie Kirk wasn't killed at random. He was hunted down and executed, slaughtered, for speaking words that the left didn't like, for exercising free speech. And that right there, that is unequivocally, uniquely a left-wing phenomenon. When's the last time you heard of a right-winger doing something like that and being motivated by the individual's political speech or political stances? Of course, the left will instantly jump to Melissa Hortman. I'm already ahead of you, scumbags. But context matters. Melissa Hortman just happened to vote against the left. Kind of weird. You'd think if somebody was targeting her because of her political stances, well, she wouldn't exactly be the first target. And secondly, she was killed by somebody who was actually deeply entrenched in Minnesota's political scene. Somebody that potentially she even knew, somebody who worked for Tim Walz. There is absolutely no evidence, none to suggest that it was a deliberate right-wing political hit. Absolutely nothing. Yet that, of course, is the left's flagship case that they use as a comeback. But you know what? Just to show you how imbalanced it is, even if we give it, even if we surrender that point, which I never would because I don't think it's correct, even if we did, it's still not apples to apples. It's not even close. Let's say we give the left wing the Melissa Hortman case. Well, just in the last 8 years, what have we seen? We saw Steve Scalise get shot. Donald Trump faced 2 assassination attempts. Rand Paul was brutally attacked. A Patriot Prayer member was executed in Portland. We have the attempted assassination of Brett Kavanaugh, and now Charlie Kirk. It's case after case after case. And actually, I think the Brett Kavanaugh case is really telling because that really, I think, is the perfect case to exemplify kind of like a timeline, a cause and effect. The Supreme Court handed the abortion issue back to the states. That happened in 2022, right before the midterms. They made a decision to enable state-level democracy. And then, of course, what did the left do? They ramped up the rhetoric to 110. They screamed about a war on women, the end of democracy, fundamental rights being taken away, fascism this, fascism that. It was the end of the world. They exaggerated. They lied. They dealt in extreme hyperbole. And then what happened? Somebody tried to act on it. Somebody tried to kill a sitting Supreme Court justice because of the rhetoric that Democrats were spewing. Rhetoric that we could tie directly to Chuck Schumer.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions.
So please miss me with this both sidesism. This is a uniquely left-wing problem. We simply do not engage in that kind of political hyperbole. I mean, even when Joe Biden and the Democrats were cracking down on free speech rights, even when actual rights were under threat, we never engaged in that kind of rhetoric, ever. The closest the left has is actually a clip from Charlie Kirk, where he suggested that Joe Biden should either be in prison or face the death penalty.
Joe Biden is a bumbling, dementia-filled Alzheimer's corrupt tyrant who should honestly be put in prison and or given the death penalty for his crimes against America.
And the left is claiming that, oh, Charlie Kirk called for Joe Biden to be assassinated. Not at all. He was suggesting a legal process. Now, it was a little extreme, I'll give you that. But again, it actually highlights the difference. They believe that you should be murdered in the streets, killed like a dog, for nothing, for no reason, for engaging in regular speech. Meanwhile, the president of the United States, who had started a ministry of truth, who sent the DOJ and FBI to target concerned parents at school boards as terrorists, the same administration that weaponized federal agencies to not only put their thumb on the scale to affect the 2020 election and censor a story that was bad for the Bidens, but also weaponized the DOJ to indict their political opponents and end democracy as we freaking know it. Then we could get into COVID, the crackdown on free speech, yada yada. I mean, tons of actual violations of democracy and people's fundamental rights. And the call was that this man should face legal punishment. It's not the same thing. And it should be obvious to everyone. I mean, look at what the left wing is doing right now. Look at how the left is celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. They're cheering. They're making memes. They're selling t-shirts and pins. They're vandalizing his memorials and murals. And immediately after it happened, they posted, quote, Trump next. They're now calling for violence on Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk's family. They're calling for more violence and glorifying violence. You do not see that on the right. And then again, let's get ahead of these scumbag leftists who will hit us with another false equivalency. Well, look at the Paul Pelosi attack. Donald Trump Jr. posted a meme photo of underpants and a hammer. How is that the same thing? The overwhelming response from conservatives was hoping for Paul Pelosi's recovery. Nobody celebrated it. And again, in that case, the only people who were being despicable was again the left that tried to claim that the attacker was a MAGA conservative when he clearly wasn't. He was a mentally ill, drugged up lunatic on the streets of San Francisco with left-wing beliefs. They lie and lie and lie and lie. It's endless. useless. And the truth is, again, they're the ones who have created a culture of violence. They're the ones who have normalized violent rhetoric against conservatives. They're the ones who cannot accept difference of opinions. And that's what Bill Maher identified. He said it himself, the left won't even talk to you. They demonize their opponents. They strip them of their humanity. And once you have been dehumanized, well, what do you think happens next? It's violence. They don't believe in free speech. They don't believe in debate. And more of them are openly believing that their political opponents deserve to be silenced, ruined, or murdered for simply disagreeing. And so, I commend Bill Maher for identifying that, but you did not go far enough. We need more left-wingers identifying the clear threat of domestic terrorism happening on the left. It's becoming increasingly hard to deny. You can shove your head in the sand all you want, but just go on Blue Sky, go on TikTok, go on Reddit. It's as clear as frickin' day, and it's high time you left-wing talking heads start telling the truth. Because right now it might be politically expedient for you to shove it under the rug, but in the end, these people will come for you. Their thirst for power is insatiable, and one day you'll be in their way, and I think you'll regret not having acted sooner. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.